welcome back. Northstar here with another episode of Citizen Sleeper. I hope you've been enjoying this Let's Play so far. I am on the Erlin's Eye. It's a space station. I've managed to neutralize most of the threats that jeopardize my immediate survival. Accumulate enough resources and sources of incomes that I'm not in any danger of starving or my body breaking down for want of medicine. But this isn't necessarily the end-all, the be-all of my quest, of my adventure. On the Erlin's Eye, the sidereal horizon is in progress. This is a colony ship. It goes to another planet. Well, this isn't a planet, but I can work to help finish it. Alternatively, I can double down and make a life for myself here. The Haifa commune provides a better life. And growing mushrooms in the aviary and such helps me thrive. So, I have a choice. To stay or to leave. However, I don't necessarily have to make the choice just yet. So I'm going to split a little bit of my efforts and see how each of these turn out. What it looks like will help guide what I do. Once a corporate garden from pressing guests with gene tweak birds, now this chamber is a mess of overgrowth. You can change that. It's endurance task. No particular boost endurance. It's safe though. Yeah. Let's put a 6 in. Heck with it. A 5 gives a chance of finishing this now. Done. Germinate spores. The old growth of the aviary has created a rich medium into which you can place spores from the groves. They'll grow well here. I already have some surplus spores from museum to improve the restaurant slash bar. Fungal beds. The moist corners of the aviary make the perfect beds for spores. Once they're filled, they can be left to grow. Alright, so I need 2 more of these spores to finish that out. Now, collecting spores is risky. Oop. I could lose energy from the task. So I'm going to reroll, and it's still 3s. Alright. You find a chamber thick with pale particles, gather as many as you can. Blah, blah, blah. I succeeded in getting the positive result, even though the odds are only 1 in 4. Okay. You extract the spores in the sample print and mix with water. Then inject them into the prepared mulch. It is precise work. Sample print? What? Whatever. Fungal growth. Spores need time to germinate and spread in the aviary. The indirect sun of a few cycles should help them all. Okay, 4 days on that. Now, I could forage for gorol caps here. It's quite dangerous, though. And the only thing I really would be using that for is over at the restaurant. A safer option is here at the Haifa commune. Can work the canteen. Might even get some energy out of it. Yep. Got 2 energy. I think I know 2 Haifa commune and 1 energy. After seeing you prepare the food, the grow bed workers invite you to share a meal with them. The conversation flows warmly and freely. I'm very close to becoming a member of the Haifa commune now. And let's feed the cat again. The stray. Stray crunches up the crackers as you watch. Sometimes they'll let you stroke them, sometimes not. I'm not sure that that does anything, but I don't mind. Got the resources to spare now. Yeah, there's also finishing up with the Yadigan. Let's do that because I think the Haifa commune is going to be a little more involved, and this is a way to get energy for what it's worth. Keep forgetting this though, mainly. Since it's risky, I'll put a 5 in. Got 3 energy out, topping off all my energy. One closer here. You help a dentist running a surgery from the unit with their equipment. They offer you a restorative infusion, and you feel better immediately. Easy to forget that, but you know, Sabine is waiting for me, so it's important to do. Could easily grab some gorol caps from there, but let's see what happens. I'll work the grow beds since it Really doesn't matter much what I do. Or no. I don't know what the possible outcomes are, so yeah, I'll just put 3 in it. The dirt of the beds is rich. How did the kami manage to establish such a good biome here? You wonder on it as you work. Since engage could have given me energy, but I had no idea. Communist. Communist noun, someone who joins a commune. Getting closer to the level 3, the final level of interface. Now, I can do a work assignment. Commune members are expected to turn up for work assignment. In return, their needs will be met. All are treated equally. No. There's a dorm here, so I don't have to return all the way across. But anyways, let's see what this does. Rico, head of the Haifa Bani. You head down into the Haifa compound, following a blue painted line that's labeled Laboratories. The member you were assigned to work with told you they'd asked to see you, but you still have no idea what about. The line takes you to a blue door and through to glass roof chamber, where a network of stems and leaves filters the sunlight coming through the ceiling, casting the whole chamber in a strange yellow-green. Peaceful, isn't it? Beautiful. Distracted by the green, you miss the woman standing on a lab bench, camouflaged by the dappled light. Welcome to my sanctuary, she smiles. Come, let's talk, she says and beckons you closer. What is this place? Here? These were processing centers for the agriculture of the old corporate station. She offers a hand to shake. I'm Rico. I run the bonding program at Haifa. What is Haifa? She looks surprised. You've been working in the compound for a while now. I'm surprised you don't know more. She lifts a tiny sample jar. Yellow spores dance inside. Haifa lives off the land of the Greenway. It's what allows us to live like we do. No one here pays or is paid. We sleep here. We feed each other. We work for each other. Rico walks away from the bench and waves for you to follow. She opens a small door and leads you down a glass corridor surrounded by vivid green. All this, she says, gesturing at the overgrowth, is a kind of miracle. She looks at you with bright eyes. What do you think usually happens to plants on stations like this when they're abandoned? They keep growing. If only that was true. No, they do not. They dry up and then they die. She leads you left at a crossroads. But here, they endured. She smiles to herself. Actually, no. They thrived. You look at the bright tendrils wrapped around the metal frames of the corridor. They look dominant, strong, like they're taking control of this place. Riku continues. Of course, Solheim tried to create a stable biosphere here, patchworking the surface with gardens and algae tanks that feed into a network of microbial reclamation systems. But the Greenway was always envisioned as extractive, a place from which the harvest is removed and sold to those living on the station, not a closed loop. For this reason, when the collapse came, the Greenway should have gone with it. Erlin himself was so convinced of it that his first colony never even came here to try to claim it. The eye instead relied on outside favors and influences, shipments from the inner system, and small-scale agriculture systems like kelp and fungal farm stacks. And yet here we are, among growth and decay, a biosphere flourishing. When Haifa came here, we expected to find only vacuum-dried stalks and leaves, and perhaps some fungal colonies in the mulch. But we found a jungle. With this, Rico hits a button on the wall, and leads you through a large pair of double doors into a huge, impossible chamber. It is every kind of green, from the pale algae tanks to the dark vines that surround them. It is wet, too, a rarity on the eye. Condensation clouds the light from the high glass roof, and gathers on the shiny broad leaves of shrubs. How? That is exactly our question. Rico turns to you, visibly excited by the room you're both standing in. It doesn't make sense, but in many ways the system has stabilized. Unlike the farm stacks closer to the gap, who need input to support their meager output, this place runs itself. Perhaps Solheim managed something new here. Perhaps they tweaked the plants, or built new systems buried deep below us. Or perhaps their fortune caused some, or perhaps their collapse caused some fortunate cascade, an unlikely chemical reaction within the biosphere. That's what I'd like you to help me find out. She turns to you, her forehead wet with dew. Me. Aren't you the botanist? Astutely noticed, but I don't need a botanist. Rico sits on a railing. These halls are in deep sleeper, and I'm getting old. She stamps her foot on the metal grating of the walkway. Whatever is causing this, it's to be found in the groves deep in the greenway. Haifa won't spare anyone for an expedition. It's too dangerous and unnecessary, they say. I can make the case, but I can't get the votes. You sleepers are hardy beings. I know that much, and you can speak to the eye, uncover its secrets in ways I never can. She holds out an arm so you can help her stand. Bring me samples, spores, seeds, and blooms. I can grow them in the lab and study them. The deeper they are found, the better. I'm curious, and if I don't want to, then go on sleeping in the dorms and eat in the canteen. I can't make you. Rika leads you back out of the huge chamber and up through the passages. She is a little sore now and stumbles on the steps. You help her where you can. It's good to have new blood in the commune, she says. Many of us have been here a long time, and few come through. She settles back at her bench in the lab, stretching her legs. You go to leave. Come back if you find something, sleeper, she calls. There are discoveries to be made, and you follow the blue line back up out of the compound, all the while thinking of that impossible, magical green. Yeah, I'm curious about this too. Over spores. Rika's asked for samples of spores in the deep groves of the Greenway. With them, she might better understand how the biosphere functions. Oh, another trip to the spore beds. Spore stay. Rika needs spores to stay the strange and resilient biosphere that's formed around the Greenway. How is this place thriving? Or rather, how is this place thriving? Alright. foraging. Oops. Collect spores. Rico is grateful for the contribution. Sleeper, you warm my heart with each delivery. Thank you. With that, Sleeper, Rico greets you without so much as looking up from her work. I have some of yours here. Come see. She beckons you over to a heavyweight looking console, wired to a series of specimen jars, some of which contain your spores. Where'd you get this? This, would you believe, she smiles, was the Solheim Council built to analyze the nutrient contents of the Greenway crop. Haifa have been using these for decades now, although sometimes they need a little tender care. You look at the machine, patched with hole offcuts, the gaps between which reveal a tangled nest of wiring. If you're honest, it looks like it's received a lot of care. The spores you have here are a real cocktail, a selection of types from within the groves. But I've been able to isolate a few. She taps on one of the specimen jars. Here, we have Tricholoma matsutake. Rico breezes through the Latin and Japanese pronunciation as if it was nothing. A species Solheim somewhat modified for use on the station. She brings up a panel on her console showing a chemical composition, all graded into bars and obtuse acronyms. This is the composition of the Solheim modified matsutake spores. Modified? Yes. Every species in the eye is a tweaked variant of Solheim's, of course, but that's not the point. Rika brings up another panel, identical in layout, but with wildly different colors and numbers. You see, this is what your matsutake spores look like. They aren't the same? That's the conclusion, yes. Riku glances at the specimen jar as if it might have something to add. They're fundamentally the same spores, but they carry different chemicals, different signals. She leans back in size. Solheim may have introduced their own tweaked versions in the beginning, but the groves have, and still are, affecting them. Affecting them how? It's hard to tell without samples of fully grown mushrooms. She meets her eye, and herein lies their problem. She moves to another desk where two trays sit side by side. The first contains nothing but plant mulch. The second you smell before you even look at it. The pungent aroma of the fruiting matsutake like rotting sodden overalls, laced with an edge of spice. The matsutake here are grown from Solheim stalks, pulled from a spore vault in this complex, she winks. They are delicious, by the way. Pulled from a spore vault in this complex. She winks. They are delicious, by the way. She sets them aside. The empty tray is germinated with the spores you collected. No activity. No germination. Nothing. But the groves are full. Yes, they are. Rika looks at you directly, and you soon realize how much she is enjoying this. So here's our puzzle, Sleeper. Spores from the groves won't grow in the lab. But gathering fruiting bodies from the grove is too unpredictable. We need to grow a fruiting body from some of these spores so we can track, understand it. In short, I need you to become my mushroom farmer. Actually, I already started. Rico looks impressed. Well, an eager mycologist. I never have guessed. I assume you set yourself up in the aviary? I've been eyeing that place up for its proximity to the groves. Bring me whatever grows, not just Matsutake. There's more than a couple of variants in there, so I'll need plenty of samples. She plucks a Matsutake cap from the tray. These little things are reflections of their conditions, their smell, their taste, their chemistry. It all derives from the conditions of their growth. She smells the cap. Enough of these, and we'll have a picture of what is happening here. Of the ways in which this biosphere is modifying itself, or being modified, whichever the case may be. Riko pops the Matsutake cap into her mouth, taking him by surprise. And don't worry, sleeper, she says while softly chewing. If this turns out to be a dead end, I'll make sure that not a single mushroom will go to waste. And now she needs Matsutake and Gorol samples. The rich and pungent Matsutake caps are Riko's preferred subject to study, something about their environmental sensitivity. The pale and delicate Gorol mushrooms are more abundant than the Matsutake, but Riko says they still help the process. Fruiting buys, Riko needs mushrooms grown in the aviary to study. She hooks up Gorol caps, but Matsutake caps are better. And I'm growing stuff. I can also collect from the groves. That isn't a terrible idea at all. It's worth noting, I was thinking about this. I might actually want to start maintaining at 5 dice instead of 4. It'll cost about twice as much stabilizer. An additional 8 cryo per cycle. But I've now got sufficient productivity. Half a die, an average more, is worth 8 cryo at least, so I'll do this now. Inject stabilizer and rest. Because yeah, 1, 2, 3. Let's see. I'm assuming 1 day of 5 dice, 2 days of 5 dice, 3. Maybe every 3 days. That might not be quite. Just keep some stabilizer on hand. Could have just stayed here in the dorms. use a 4 on this. Deep in Event Core, you find the amber caps of growths. In this micro-ecosystem, they are protected from other stranger growths. The rest are all below average rolls, so I do this again. Here we go. 4. Roll. Huh. Beautiful. Rico gushes as you hand over the golden caps. You've never seen anyone so excited about mushrooms. And I keep feeding them in here. And I almost forgot the Greenway Gate. Let's feed in the Greenway cipher. The cipher burns away as it is slotted. The data sparking like wet touch paper was been a lot. The Greenway roils beneath you like a silt-choked river. If what Navigator said was true, then no one has accessed these networks since the collapse. The hunter and killer protocols have never set foot here, never cleared out the intelligences and systems. So why then, you wonder, does it look so dark? Is it just that the bit rot has set in? The entropy of systems reducing everything to shadows and light? You watch as the solid cipher fizzles in the one open to story gateway on this entire rim of the station. It flickers and winks out, and then you are falling to the flow. A river of swirling darkness. You are spun by it, twisted by it, lost in it. It's not that the Greenway was hiding in the darkness. It is made of darkness. It is filled by this substance, this process, this swarm. Now you are among it. You notice the swarm is exactly what it is. 1 billion individuals moving in a flow. There is no network map here, no nodes and threads, only a storm of interchangeable points, shifting configuration endlessly. Then you see them, a figure, turned away, the only bright spot in the dark river. You push closer through the storm. They are facing away, at least you think so. They are so fractured, so overgrown that it's hard to tell. Even from this distance you can see their flesh is moving, flowing. You watch, silent, as they stoop and reach down. In their hand is the dark shape, and with twisted fingers they press it down into the loam of data beneath them, pushing it through this trembling soil. Then they move away, go a little further and repeat the process, as if they were sowing a field. You push forward, but somehow, despite their slow and deliberate speed, they move faster, and they quickly fade into the storm. You reach the point where they planted the object and look down. There it is, a glassy, shifting polygon with something inside. You reach down and pick it up. It is cold, but it thrums with energy. You look towards the path of the figure, but they're long gone. When you blink out of the cloud back to the leaves in the dappled light of the Greenway, you hold a seed in your hand. And here's some nonsense blurring the lines between virtual reality and physical reality. Hmm. Yeah. Cause scrap. I may be better off doing self-repair actually to maintain it at my current levels. Now I'm thinking about it. Oh yeah, the serial assembly. See what happens if this goes poorly. But I do need to push this. Get paid 15 cryo, but more importantly, advance that. Do some self-repair, and I must have gotten scrap from that. Wasn't paying attention. It's cheaper than the stabilizer. I'm staying at stable. That puts a ceiling on what I have to pay upkeep it at 12 per day, which again the dice make worth. I think I calculated otherwise it'd be every 3 days I need stabilizer, which is even worse. If nothing else, it's worth it to get the upgrade points sooner. Alright, here are the labs. I can't give her the seed. Oh well. Guess I'll pop into the mushroom groves. Roll caps. More girl caps. More girl caps. Don't seem to be getting any Matsutakes. And done. Rico meets you at the entrance to the lab, leaning on her crutch with a glint in her eye. Walk with me, sleeper. I'd like to tell you a story. She makes her way down the corridor that leads back up towards the main commune building. When people first crossed what we call Founder's Gap into the Greenway, they did so against the wishes of Andre Erlin. At the time, Erlin was trying to stabilize the Union and establish control over the Eye in the wake of Solheim's collapse. It was chaos, competing factions, failing systems, so many dead and injured from the riots. This is his priority. Why? Erlin was interested in people, not plants. He was a pragmatist, and for good reason. You both crossed through a glass-roofed tunnel, the greenway outside crowded with vines and branches, dappling the light. Erlin had ridden the greenway off, cut off from the rest of the station, and linked to a broken spoke. He claimed it was only a matter of time before everything here would die. He refused to let anyone abandon their duty to the Union and cross. They were traitors to the cause, or as good as. Riku continues, making her slow but steady way into the inner gardens of the commune. There weren't many of us, but we believed what was here was worth saving. We had to keep our plans secret until we crossed, and some of us left people behind. She pauses to catch her breath, her voice cracking. It's difficult to know if from effort or emotion. What we found was a disaster. Nothing like what you see here. Half the greenway was leaking oxygen into space. The plants flash frozen. The other half was a swamp of mulch as decaying matter clogged every system. We worked hard. We lost good people. We cleaned up and closed up, but it was never going to be enough. After many cycles, we all knew this place was doomed. But we kept on working, talking less and less because we couldn't face it. We all developed a death wish. If the Greenway was going to die, so would we. What changed? Everything, Rico smiles. We crossed some invisible boundary, tipped some biological scale, and the Greenway started to recover. Plants flowered, crops sprouted. For the first time we reaped the fruits of our labor. Rico smiles, looking up at you. We thought it was us, that we managed to do just enough to end the cycle of decay. I thought we had saved the Greenway. Until today. You pass into the grow beds of the commune, rich with the hustle and bustle of Haifa members planting and harvesting. For a while Rico is quiet, and you both simply observe the hypnotic movements of the work crews, the eager chatter washing over you like a wave. Rico smiles to herself. I should have known, of course, that our arrogance was unfounded, but we needed to believe back then. We need a myth to bring more people across the gap. You both move into a smaller quarter, Rico following some direction unknown to you. What you have shown me is that back then, the Greenway saved us, not the other way around. Tell me, have you ever consumed one of the Matsutake egg roll caps you've been growing? Growing? No. They can be difficult to prepare without proper equipment, she muses. But you should try them. After all, they were designed for you. Rico has a mischievous look. At first, I thought it was the location they were grown in that made the mushrooms in the aviary, from the labs, or from the grove different to each other. But what I have come to understand is that it is the person growing them. The Matsutake and roll caps you brought me are totally unique. containing compounds never usually found in similar specimens in my possession. But I didn't grow these. These were from the groves. Many of these compounds aren't even digestible for humans. But for a sleeper like you. Rico smiles as she leads you into the internal garden of the commune, where the hypha members have planted species from all over the Greenway. Back when the tide turned, when the Greenway started to recover, we all felt something. A response. It was as if this place was not just alive as the forest is alive, but alive in other ways. Communicative, responsive. We shirked it off at the time, but now I understand why. Rico stops and turns to you. This place is responding to us, adapting itself to us. It is growing fruiting bodies for you, for me. It is adapting, changing. It is, in short, displaying all the signs of sentience. The Greenway is sentient? Perhaps not the Greenway, but the ecosystem itself or something within it. Rico sits on a bench within the peaceful gardens and gestures for you to join her. When you've been growing the girls and matsutakes in the aviary, those species so familiar to the Greenway, have you discovered any others? Not yet. If you do, can I ask that you immediately bring them here? I believe it's only a matter of time before they bloom. You look around the garden, amazed at the sense of peace within it. Rico interrupts the silence. There is a species of mushroom they haven't seen in years. It is dark, short, shaped like a club. When we first found it in those early days, we were working to save this place. It was around the time that we started to lose our first members. They were succumbing to some infection, some mold growing deep in the dark mulch that drowned this place. At that point, we thought we were lost. And then these mushrooms emerged from that same black mold. We tested them and saw that they contained some compounds that counteracted the mold. They contained an antidote. Of course, as a botanist, I saw this as part of the natural processes of this ecosystem, even if the time scale seemed absurdly short. But what I am wondering is if that antidote was a gift. Riku meets her eyes. Perhaps, if you're patient, you'll receive your gift too, sleeper. You both sit for a while. Riku is seemingly done telling stories for today. You watch the light playing off the leaves and plants around you, and wonder what forces could be at play in this place. After a while, you stand and leave, with a quiet nod to Riku, leaving her to her memories. If I find a clubhead mushroom. Riku is eager to see a clubhead pack. The caps have grown in the aviary. She hasn't seen mushrooms like this in decades. So if I get some clubhead analysis, I need 3. Are these fruiting bodies the same that emerged during the early days of the collapse, or something else? Wonders if I might find them in the groves. Tomorrow we'll get a harvest. Of something. So I didn't realize all this time I was getting paid for work on the serial. 15 cryo. I could have been using scrap to repair up that whole time. At least whenever I had any. Presuming there aren't negative outcomes that hurt me in some way. Oh. You can lose condition. Never mind that. A rough shift in cramped conditions. You can feel the wear this work is imparting on your body. You wonder if it'll all be worth it. Okay, so that can happen. The Matsutake. Export. The Garol. On the other hand, Memphis could use. I know he wants Matsutake as well. But I can use it at the Overlook, rename the Batya, whatever. The Bontayan. Cook roll caps. You haven't exactly mastered the art of cooking mushrooms. A couple of handfuls of fried rolls always beat expired rations. Oh, I need 2? Roll caps? Darn it. Oh well. Interesting. Most interesting. Well, patrol here. Managed to gain 1 energy for whatever it's worth. Could have lost energy. I'll sell some of these surplus ship mines. $150 cryo each. I might maybe need 1 for... Oh yeah, and there's... The Ambergeist is almost repaired. And one day there will be a merchant. I should buy, there's a scrap freighter as well. $16 cryo is scrap, but there's a chance of getting a ship mine fragment each time. Like I just did. Each of which is essentially worth 50. Cool. Wonder what I can do with these extra growth spores, if anything. Let's feed the stray. Doesn't seem to do anything, but whatever. Oh, I can repair up more than once. Thought it was once per day, but I guess not. Learned something. Okay. Well, let's buy ship mine fragments. Now speak to Ankita, whose ship I fixed. Ankita is crouched in the computing core of the Ambergris, swearing to herself when you enter. She doesn't look up. These shits completely ruin the core's connectors when they cut it. She holds up a thick fistful of ragged wires. The ship mine they ripped won't even be usable without replacing these. She throws the bundle of wires across the room. Amateurs. Can we repair it? There's nothing to repair. We need an entire ship mined. Not exactly the first thing you expect to dredge up from a scrap freighter. She sighs. Fragments, maybe. Sections of a mine, but a complete ship mine? No way. Ankita climbs out of the cooling well where the ship mine should be. The space suddenly crowded with her on the same level as you, towering over you as she stoops beneath the low curved ceiling. Come on, nothing to be done here now. This leads you back through the guts of the amber, though you could find the way back yourself. The repair process has left you familiar with the cutter's idiosyncratic layout, all diagonal angles and bundled tubes. What do we do now? Ankita seems lost in thought, and you focus on the quarters, ducking below conduits and passing through bulkheads. Eventually you arrive in the galley, though it's hard to tell. Most of the benches and prep surfaces are covered in half-stripped components and welded hole patches. Ankita shoves a box of filters to the floor and sits. There's no way around it, she starts out of nowhere. We need a new ship mined. I can salvage one, or where from? Scrap freighter, word exchange. Hell, find one in the overlook bathroom. Doesn't matter where. Just matters that we get one. She rubs her forehead. It seems I'm about to do something very stupid. But hey, I came here, didn't I? Why not make a run of it? She fixes you with a hard stare. Sleeper, you're all I've got. No crew, no friends, you're it. She looks uncomfortable. I appreciate the time you put in on the amber, and I'm sure she would too if she could. What I'm saying is if you screw me on this, I will kill you. She leans over and hands you a stack of chits. A big stack of chits. Don't dare to count them. Get me that ship mine, Sleeper. Don't make me regret this. But, she says, look, just get out of here before I change my mind. You step out of the galley and head back towards the main lock. As you do, Amber growls and creaks like a caged animal. You reach out a hand to calm her. Time to find Ankita's ship mine. Somehow. I already had one, so too bad I couldn't comment. You drop the huge cylinder onto the mess room table, and Ankita can't hide her excitement. You drop the ship mine core onto the galley table with an emphatic bang. Ankita spins around from where she's been poring over some documents on her slate. This should be poor, P-O-R. There should be no U, that's actually the wrong word. They're, I'm trying to remember, they sound the same. I'm trying to remember the word for that, but they're not actually the same verb at all. They're homonyms, that's right. But they have very different meanings. Pour like liquid versus pour, P-O-R-E. Holy shit, Sleeper. Did you actually land a ship mine? She rushes over and hefts the huge cylinder, turning it back and forth. Well, shit, it might actually work. She smiles more than you've ever seen. Where'd you get it? This one? I built it. Built it. Well, well, you are full of surprises. Ankita bangs on the galley wall. Hear that, Amber? The Sleeper got you a new ship mine. The sound echoes down the ship's passages. You have to admit, being a small space with Ankita when she's this excited is a little intimidating. Ankita puts the ship mine back on the table. I'll start the process of fitting it as soon as I can. Might need your help with some of it. She heads back toward the counter to grab her slate. This isn't the only good news today either. Looks like my good karma is finally coming in. She throws the slate onto the table and spins it so you can see the screen. Take a look at this. You see a list of names and numbers, nothing that exciting, along with what looks like a transit timetable. I found them. Found who? My crew. She points at the name on the list, or more specifically, Ashton Kaid. It was his pass that was used to access Amber and slice the ship mine. I thought he might have been killed or robbed, his pass stolen, but it turns out he crossed the Founder's Gap the very next cycle. How do you know? I know some of the crew over at the ferry, old mercs, used to run in an outfit I worked with. I saw them in the overlook and they mentioned they saw Ashton crossing. I checked the manifests, and there he was. Looks suspicious. He hasn't said a word since the theft, and anyone wanting to hide out might head to the Greenway and go to ground. She flexes. He won't get far, though. There's no real docks out there, only a couple of jetties in the wastes. So what now? Now I fit the ship mine. That's the first priority. She pauses, but maybe you could help me out? Sure, how? It's like this. I head over there. Especially in Amber, he'll spot me a mile off and go underground. He'll find a way to slip the station or bury himself so deep in the waste no one will ever find him. But you, Ashton doesn't know you. All I need is for you to go there and sniff around. Not the commune, not the stacks. He will have gone to the edges, the margins, the wild places. That's what Ashton likes. You see him? You locate him? Ping me on this. She hands you a comm earpiece. Seeing as this is merc work, I'll be happy to give you merc pay. She shifts in her seat. The thing is, I haven't got much left. So how about I tell the boys who run the ferry to give you a discount? I know it's not much, but once I grab this coward, I'll pay up. 200 cryo, nothing less. What do you say? She meets your eye. Not sure about this. It could be dangerous. She stands up quickly. I'm not asking for charity. This is a contract. Take it or leave it. She lifts the ship mine up onto her shoulder with worrying ease. I'm going to get this fit into Amber's core. You get any info? Any sense where Ashton is hiding? Let me know. She goes to turn, then stops. And once again, sleeper. Thank you. I appreciate it. And Kia stomps off into the guts of Amber with the ship mine, leaving you in the galley. You glance around, a sudden nervous energy ascending at what is to come. You never thought you'd get work as a mercenary, but then again, it seems the eyes full of surprises. Fix the ambergris, complete. I should do something about that seed. Yeah, I got an upgrade point. Went to interface because I wanted that before I attempted the thing with Conway. There's a climbing briar. There's the waste for scrap gathering. And here's where I look for Ashton. The margins of the greenway. Could use interface or intuit. It's much safer to use interface. Rather than hiking around the wilderness, you can make use of your skills to hop in the cloud and flash and buy signals. I'll get back to that though. Let's deal with the... Can't... I guess the labs are where I do the seed, but probably not till after the club heads. The aviary, however, is done. Harvest mushrooms. The fruiting bodies are appearing. Gorals are easy to find, but matsutake and other stranger types will require extra effort. Take your pick. Fungal yield. The crop of fruiting bodies has broken the surface of the mulch. Once harvested, you'll have to grow more. So I guess I have to go get more spores after. Put a 5 in this, that becomes a 6. 2 rare mushrooms. Carefully pick out the best developed caps from the mulch, especially fascinated by the aroma of the club-like bodies you discover. Got club heads on the first try. Wow. Okay. Boom, baby. You hand them over to an eager Rico, who immediately begins work on the samples. Do a little work at the wild margin thing. Put a 4 into this because it's a +2 to interface now. You notice a spike of activity, a vast transfer of information taking place. What is happening out there? And Kia seems to think Ashton is out here at the wild edge of the greenway. Time to see if that's true. Reroll the 1s and 2s. Perfect. 5 more rare bodies. Got more club heads and more matsutake. And a 3. You set a set of healthy, large caps. The smell is rich and complex and reminds you of some of the best meals you consumed on the eye. This was just Gorol, looks like. And some matsutake, maybe? No. I've got an upgrade point. Use it to save up for another +2. One of the skill types. Yep, and it takes 3 more spores to replant the aviary. I'll risk a 2 here. I don't remember what happens if you run out of... You find clumps of spores in the passage, dripping with moisture. You gather them quickly, unable to identify their source. Because if I had managed to get 2 sets, I could have replanted this immediately. Reduce downtime where it's not doing anything. Alright. And the cycle. Shoot, I forgot to feed my character. Whoopsie daisy. Could have just bartered for some food over at the stacks. That was dumb. Alright, well I know I'm tired. That was stupid though. Guess I did one experiment to see at what point I reach flickering, so. Anyhow. Grab some girl caps. Each one is worth a third of, I think, what is it, 80 for 3? So they are the single most valuable. Mushrooms are my most valuable resource. We're 4 in. Got some energy. You find a hidden grove where clouds of spores fizz in the air. You feel energized as you inhale the glittering powder. 2 and 1. Still need to replant that, so. Got one more bit of spores. Can replant the aviary. Oh yeah, I was mean to. Yeah, so you get 2 alternatives. When you have +2 interface skill. And because of my perk icebreaker, I get 2 data, so. Can't sell data to caster more than once, apparently. Oh. In that case, I'll sell the data here. Even a roll of a 1 is worth 20 odd cryo. 20 odd because there's a chance of an interface intercept action with my current skills. Everything's more valuable once you're already doing well. Seems like once you're skilled up. Similarly, I was able to put higher rolls and get 20 at the repair at the hub, but yeah, it's mean to do roll caps and see how much energy I get for a couple of these. 3 energy for 2 caps, so each is worth 1.5 energy. The mushrooms release their liquid as they cook, making for a fragrant and delicious dish. Basically, 2 girl caps are worth about 12 cryo, or equivalent of a scrap in value. I know I was hoping foraging I might get the rare mushrooms, but I didn't. But the matsutake, 3 of them is worth 80, so they're valuable. Where was the fabricator here? And that to get a ship mined. Keep one of these handy just in case there's something where I need them later. Feed the stray. And end the cycle. Okay. So yeah, that does reduce me to flickering. Meaning you'd have to do stabilizer once every 3 days to stay stable. Not really worth it, but the self-repairability makes it worth. That's worthwhile once you once you get enough use from an extra die, anyways. Of course, I don't have limited scrap, so I'll probably still have to buy more stabilizer eventually. Let's give these clubhead to Rico. So the girls, pale peppery, food, matsutake, pungent rich, rare delicacy, and worth a lot. Ship mines for essential money, stabilizer is of course necessary to survive. Fun. So if all I can get is girl caps here, maybe that's not a great use of my effort. And once hunt down Ashton. Alright. The trailhead extends deep into an overgrown section of the greenway. At this far end of the ring, where the long lazy curve of the greenway becomes the shadow landscape of the waste, things are oddly quiet. Ahead stands a vast farm stack, broken from its axis by rest or force, and lying amongst the overgrown landscape like an ancient temple. It is stained with moss and algae, flows of green running out from its broken tanks like a frozen, brackish tide. This is where Ashton is hiding, you're pretty sure. All your intuition points to the shadows beneath this collapsed superstructure. You roll the comm headset Ankita gave you in your palm. Calling Ankita, you slip the headset into your ear and it fizzes with static. After a few moments you hear Ankita. Sleeper, have you located the target? A doubt enters your mind. Can be sure? He is there? Yes, come now. Copy. Hold tight until I get there. Static cuts out. The channel dead. You hold your position and watch the trail. Ahead the stars wheel with the motion of the eye, and your mind wanders. You try to imagine what this place looked like before the collapse. All ordered rows of crops, corporate pleasure gardens, glowing farm stacks. Now it is a wilderness, a strange overgrown biosphere bordered by the void of space. You smile. Despite everything, it seems like an improvement. Sleeper, Ankita's hiss brings you out of your reverie. He in the collapsed stack? I think so. She gives you a look. You better be right. Well, there's no way I'm following that trail. If he's up there, I'll have eyes on that for sure. She glances across the landscape. Let's keep to undergrowth. Work our way around. She heads off towards the central spine of the greenway, with you following close behind. It is slow going there, where the overgrowth meets the metal wall, but it is so concealed you can barely see the glass roof high above. Ankita somehow seems to know where to go. Ankita works her way through dense undergrowth, pushing aside branches and fronds. It is exhausting and you desperately want to rest, but Ankita shows no signs of letting up. Up ahead, there is a faint glow from the collapsed stack. Ankita leads you around the side to a broken tank. You both step through the opening, trying to avoid the broken glass that sits among the moss and algae. You work your way up the slanted tank. Ankita is saying a deliberate pace. Somewhere, water drips, and you swear you hear a bird song. Hanging plants catch the light, coating the place in a pale and sickly green. Ankita reaches the edge of the tank, where it meets the central drum, and holds up a hand for you to stop. You inch forward and look over the edge. The vast drum is like a cistern, with plants growing on all sides, and wet mossy islands at its base. It is beautiful, and for a moment you can't see anything but tones of green. Then you see the sleeper. In a faint circle of light, descending down through the drum, the sleeper lies slumped at an odd angle. They are surrounded by crates, and beside them, one of the mossy islands, there is an object. A cylinder set on a tarp is connected to the sleeper's head. You flinch. Are they one of the others? One of the ones that escaped with you? You squint, trying to recognize them. They are twisted, broken open, wrong. You look away. Ankita doesn't look at you. She doesn't look at the sleeper. She fixes her eyes on the object. That's Amber's ship mine, she says, and you suddenly recognize the cylinder. Wait. You turn to Ankita to speak out, but she is already gone. She drops off the edge of the tank and lands on one of the mossy islands, her armor letting out a hiss as it absorbs the impact. The shots hit her shoulder piece, the ceramic armor crackling, but holding as she braces into the impact. Then she launches herself forward, the now activated armor launching her across the drum. Another shot goes wide before she reaches the cover of the crates beside the sleeper. Shit. Hear the sound from one of the tanks high in the far wall. Ankita reaches over and wraps a hand around the thick connection between the ship mine and the sleeper. What is she doing? You better come down here or I'll rip this right out of their head, she screams at the wall of tanks. You shiver at the suggestion. Stop. Quiet, sleeper, Ankita shouts. A shot rips through the moss beside you, filling your vision with green. The shooter must be somewhere on the other side of the tank. Do that again, I swear to God I'll tear their head off, Ankita shouts them. Sleeper, you stay down. There's a long pause. All you can hear is the dripping of the water running down the walls of the drum. Then Ashton calls out. I'm coming down, Ankita. Don't do anything stupid, for God's sake. He appears at the far side of the drum, stepping through the shallow water, rifle raised above his head. Drop the gun, Ankita shouts. He throws it down onto the moss. As you lean out to watch, you see him catch your eye, clocking your presence. What are you up to here, Ashton, you sicko? She stands, keeping her sidearm trained at his head. You ripped my ship mine for what? Some freakish experiment? Ashton approaches with shaking hands, his eyes now fixed on the connecting bundle of wires that Ankita still has hold of. Steady, Ankita. It isn't like that. I needed the ship mine. You have to understand. They would have died without it. What are you talking about? I don't give a shit why you ripped my ship mine and crippled my ship. I should put you down right now. She tightens the grip on the connection. Typical of you, Ankita. No curiosity. Ashton smiles shakily. That's why I never asked for your help. You only look after yourself. He nods at you. That sleeper up there, they're just bait, right? To draw me out? Ankita sucks a breath in. Are you trying to give me more reasons to shoot you? I loved them, Ankita. Ashton looks at the crumpled sleeper. I loved them, and they were going to die. I knew you would never understand that. He starts closing the gap between himself and Ankita now, slowly, inching forward. Don't do that, Ashton, Ankita snarls. Don't do that. Let the wires go, Ankita. Let us go. If you don't get out of my way... He inches closer. Please. I can't let you take it, Ashton. Ankita hardens her stare. You stole it from me. You left me for dead. She shakes her head. And you think I'm going to trust you? After all that? I need it, Ankita. I need them to survive. Ashton is in reach of the sleeper now, of Ankita. I'm going to take them now, Ankita. He raises a hand. I'm going to take the ship mine and go. Ankita loosens her grip on the connection a little. Her hand is shaking now. Stop, Ashton. She lowers the gun a little. Stop. Seeing her guard drop, he makes his move. Blur of movement, a struggle, a shot. Another. You recoil back behind the edges that ricochet around the inside of the drum, the sound deafening you. When you crawl back to the edge, Ashton is bleeding into the water, the red and the green. Ankita is standing at the center of the drum, the severed connection in her hand. The water drips endlessly, drip after drip after drip. You force yourself to look at the broken sleeper. There is no sign of life, of humanity. They are just another broken object among other broken objects, while all around, living things grow and thrive. Ankita finally looks back up at you, tears in her eyes. She begins to say something that might be sorry, but you are already gone. That was sad. Says talk to her about what happened, but where is she? I don't see a marker anywhere. Maybe I have to wait a day. The only other place I can think of is the rim. I mean the hub. No idea where she went. Work on the sterile. It's 15 cryo. A chance of some scrap. And feed the stray. Yeah. Yeah, I don't see any sign of Ankita anywhere. Her ship seems to be gone. Oh, here's the ambergris. Ankita's away. Amber is docked here at a rickety old jetty, but she's sealed up. The note says, "Sleeper, stay. I'll be ready soon." So, in a couple days. And that reduced me to flickering. Minus energy. The mushrooms lead you deep into the rim beyond sunlight, where moist dells glitter with strange growths. You barely make it back out. Again? It's irrelevant if I'm about to use stabilizer anyhow. There we go. Some growth spores. Collecting those advance. There we go. How many Matsutake caps was it for Emphas? Oh, just 2. Get to know Emphas. Let's do that. Bring him some Garol caps this time. I mean, Matsutake this time. Emphas mentions an old recipe for Matsutake, broth. All he needs are 2 handfuls of matsutake cups, freshly sourced. It'll take him 3 days. I'll finish up here. I should get energy. Patrolling the ward. You help a dentist, they offer you restorative infusion. Fun. Now, Rabaya. This time, you meet inside Rabaya's office. Although now that you've seen it, office seems like the wrong term. You find her stood in an almost bare, shadowy unit, midway through a sequence of stretches. There are 2 low stools and a terminal in the corner, but it seems that most of the space is taken up by a heavy punching bag, rubber matting, and a stack of weights, more like a gym. When Rabaya turns to greet you, you realize she is missing an arm. The prosthetic she usually wears is set in a cradle near the terminal, a web of colored wires running to it. Updates, she says, noticing you looking where her artificial arm usually is. Nothing to worry yourself with. Sorry, don't be. I'm sure you've been on the receiving end of more invasive stares than I ever have. You both settle on the stools, Rabaya crossing her legs on top and sitting straight back. Gia told me you have been doing the rounds, collecting tithes, patrolling the ward. She smiles. Some of the enforcers are impressed, and I heard you handled a few difficult circumstances. Nicely done. I mean, I did want to help. I really wanted to see. I'll say that. And you did. I wanted to help. She closes her eyes for a moment. I hope you can see how things work here now. A strong Yadigan means a strong low end. Both are woven into each other. I know that for you, life on the eye has been a struggle. But I hope we can do something about that from here onwards. Too bad the Yadigan are quite brutal. Though some of our members may not see it this way, I know you too are a refugee. She looks at you solemnly. That is why you have come to us. Enough, Rabaya. Sabine's voice cuts through the conversation. I'm tired of listening to your fetid nobility. They cross the room, Rabaya's baton in their hand, the end lit with sparking electricity. Rabaya looks between the 2 of you. I suppose this ambush was another cooperation between you 2? She looks strangely unfazed. No, they're acting alone. Sabine pauses, thrown off for a moment by renunciation. I mean, I didn't set up an ambush, so I was telling the truth. Rabaya takes this opportunity to act. She leaps from the stool, and fainting past Sabine, grabs the baton, twists it inward. She is by far the stronger, and she pushes Sabine to her knees, plunging the crackling of the baton towards her chest. They freeze there, Sabine struggling to keep the crackling baton from their skin. Stop. Then you support them? Rabaya asks you, her eyes not leaving Sabine. Your loyalties are so easily swayed. I thought you were more than Yannick's attack dog, Rabaya. Sabine spits back. Are you not able to think for yourself? Rabaya holds the baton strong, and for a moment you think she is about to hammer it down into Sabine's chest. But after a painful wait, she throws Sabine down instead, then spins the baton in her hand, thumbing a switch and shut it off in a single move. Rabaya, explain. They both look at you, each still catching their breath, as if they had forgotten about your presence. Explain what? How the moment I call my enforcers will come down here and take them away? Rabaya cracks her neck. You're lucky I didn't kill you. Would have had every right. Every right, she shouts, the anger a release of tension more than a threat. Sabine lifts them a little. Bruised from the fall, they roll into their side and cough. Lifts himself a little. Rabai gives them some space, sitting back on the stool. Sabine props himself up on their elbows and fixes Rabai with a hard stare. You have something to say? Rabai taunts. Say it. This is your final opportunity because after this, she laughs. No coming back. What's the point? Sabine breathes heavily. She refuses to listen to criticism of the great Yadigan project. Rabai collects herself. Speak. She folds her arms and waits to be convinced. Sabine takes a breath, organizing her thoughts. They go to start, pause, then decide another approach. Eventually they say it. Yannick is a traitor. Rabai immediately flinches, her eyes going to her prosthetic arm, her muscles clenching. But she rides it out, more eager to prove Sabine wrong than she is to hurt them. At least for now. When I came here, from S and ARP, they glanced at you, gauging your reaction. It was Yannick, who was one of the first to support me, to look after me. I should have known then, but I was naive and afraid. Sabine turns to you. Sleeper, they take a breath. I know that I should have told you I worked for S and ARP long ago, but I thought you would abandon me, and you are my final friend. What you should know is that I left S and ARP because I was running for my life. I leaked documents on the Sleeper program, on the legal and immoral practices it relied on, to the press. S and ARP wanted me dead, and I fled as far as I could, to this refuge at the edge of the surrogate systems. Sabine stops to collect himself. What does this have to do with Yannick? Rabai interrupts. The Sleeper knows you're S and ARP, I told them. And while you hide beneath the cover of being a whistleblower, you and I both know you worked on the Sleeper program. Yannick told me as much. Sabine's face falls. It is true. They glance at you and then away, ashamed. They lift their head. But it is Yannick, not me, who is in the pocket of S and ARP. Rabai flinches again. I can prove it. He made some kind of deal to keep me here, to tie me up in debt, to lock me away. In exchange, Rabai slams her hand on the desk. Just tell us, for God's sake. In exchange for those, Sabaya finishes, nodding towards Rabai's prosthetic arm in its cradle. He has been using Yadigan enforcers, using you as test subjects for ASNARP technology. I have the data to prove it. He has been bringing them in under the guise of stolen shipments and having me fit them, knowing each one is capturing data and sending it back to its makers. Rabai's fixed expression has started to fade. Sorry. Sabine produces a slate. It's all here. Thousands of hours of usage data. Failure rates. That was what that failure rate thing was about. Error dumps. These are untested implants for Rabai. They could short out, fail, cause cascading failures across a person's body. And they have. Sabine suddenly looks incredibly tired. I thought the error rate in units was down to them being stolen or modified. I've tried to fix hundreds of failures in my time here. Not all of them. They stop. Unable to continue. Rabai closes her eyes and breathes in. Then she opens them again. She holds out a hand to Sabine. Show me, she says. Later, much later, when you leave, Sabine is still taking Rabai through the manifests and usage data. Both of them crowd around the terminal as Sabine leads Rabai through each layer of Yannick's betrayal. As you leave, Sabine catches your eye, and something passes between you. Something like a thank you, or a sorry, or some other expression that communicates both sadness and hope. Cool. Enemy of my enemy. Rabbi and Sabine have been holed up in our office for a while now. What are they planning? We'll find out in 3 cycles. I have 2 upgrade points. I could go for +1 endure. There's some rolls where that's useful. Or +2 in engineering. Generally, I just prefer usually I can avoid endurance tasks. So, go for the +3. +2, whatever. Especially because I'm running out of things that give me more points. And this might give me 1 more. Next thing is probably a couple days in that. Couple days in that. The aviary and the ambergris. Stabilizer time though. Well, it would have been slightly cheaper to use 5 scrap if I was going to sell it all. I only have a limited scrap supply. So, boom. Maybe worth storing up some. Oh, wait, I can't do the waste, which is the only sustainable source of scrap. The endurance skill. You know what? I'll do that because if I store up a lot of scrap, it might help with the Conway thing. Now I can enter the waste if I want. Probably store up scrap for that. It's probably worth it. Just in case. Here at the edge of the habitable parts of the eye, everything is scrap. The trick is finding components that are still usable and staying safe. Need high rolls for this to be worthwhile, but I'm going to do the Conway thing eventually. I should start saving up scrap. I have enough crap for 10 stabilizer, but the scrap will be needed for that. Alright. Reroll. I got a 5 and 6. In an old docking bay, you find a locker. Corroded shut. You crack it open. The components inside are in perfect condition. I can use the one to do data, so I don't completely exhaust my cryo. I mean, I have a ridiculously large amount stored, but no need to be wasteful. Or if this is doing his thing, or Bai is doing hers. But I've got a day here. Tomorrow, it'll be the aviary and Ankita. Cool. Or next cycle, I should say. But that's enough of that. Next video, speed to Ankita, collect some more mushrooms in the aviary. You know, I'll do that now. But next video, I'll speed to Ankita at least. Got some club heads. Matsutake. This is a nice, safe task, so. You stumble and crush a cluster of mushrooms in the dirt. You salvage some of the pale caps, but curse your own clumsiness. Huh. Alright, well now I know that that can happen. Kind of wanted to find what the non-positive outcomes were. Replant the aviary. Alright. That's done. Got the timer going again. And heck, I'll deliver the final set of club heads. So that there's Rico. Until next time, though, this is Northstar, signing off. Wish you all the best. Take care of each other. Be kind to yourselves. And may you always find a guiding star to lead you home. Adieu. Farewell until next time.